You may know her best as a singer and songwriter. Her songs are best known for being on the hit Lifetime show Dance Moms, to ESPN's First Take, to NBC promos, or The Real Housewives. She also was the composer of the Emmy-winning new media TV show The Never Settle Show, hosted by Mario Armstrong, and has worked alongside the Goo Goo Dolls and many other big artists. She truly is a talent, and My World with Stories is very happy and honored to have her on the podcast today. Please welcome Cassandra Kubinski.
Hey, how's it going?
Good. It's finally awesome to meet you.
You too. This is so great. Thanks for having me on.
Yeah, of course. All right, let's get started. So,
Cool.
first off, I'm so excited to have you on today. So, first off, how did you first get introduced to songwriting and singing in general?
Sure. So I was always a singer. I've been singing probably since I could make noise. And so really it was like absorbing music when I was a kid, whether it was Disney musicals or the music that my parents listened to. And I think like that gene, that kind of songwriting gene has always been a part of me because I was writing little ditties and little songs even as a kid. I
Mm,
was, making up songs with my best friend in the neighborhood, and we were putting on circuses and plays and like writing songs for our Christmas shows. So it was just something that I always kind of did naturally.
right.
And then I was a musical theater actress as a kid. So I actually got into doing that as a teenager professionally. And when I went to college, that's really when the songwriting kicked in. And I said, okay, I really would like to focus on being a professional songwriter.
Wow, that's awesome. So, some of your best work has been known to be on Dance Moms. So what was that whole experience like to have your music put out to a different type of audience that might not know your music?
Well, first of all, it was a huge gift. I mean,
Mm,
as a songwriter and an artist, it's like something that I definitely never expected to be able to reach, millions of listeners with those songs, especially because a lot of those songs are from my early albums, Hiding Underneath and Hold the Sun. And I think as late as Just Being Myself, that album.
mm,
And so it was surprising, like the first time that the songs were on the show, I did not know. And I had fans that were reaching out and telling me they heard the songs on the show, and I didn't even believe them. Like I thought, like, what? No, it can't be me. But once I realized that it was happening and that the show was using my songs, then I really made an effort to connect with fans of the show, which
mm.
I still do. Like I love hearing from fans of the show, whether it's on my Instagram or YouTube or Facebook. Like if people DM me about a particular song, they want to know the story behind it. Like I've created a whole YouTube series of like performances of Dance Mom songs and the stories
Wow.
behind them. Um, so yeah, I mean, it's so fun and it's such a special community that really stretches across the world.
Yeah. Was there a favorite song of yours that you wrote that got to be aired on Dance Moms?
Um, a favorite song, let's see. I would say, I really like the song Timeless and There Is Only Love.
Right.
They're very personal, very, very, very personal songs to me. So they were
Mm,
favorites. Another one was called Save You Tonight, and it was one of the very first songs that was on the show.
yeah.
And that song was just one of the first songs I wrote when I moved to New York City to write songs. And so like it was very gratifying and I don't know, like just, you know, like felt really special that that song has been heard as much as it has because of the show.
So have you written and recorded and performed with people like the Goo Goo Dolls and, you know, I have Chris Body. So what has it been like to work in the room with people that have been in this industry for so long or just as long as you?
Well, it is humbling and intimidating. And also really elevating because like when I get to work with people who have honed their craft and played for, hundreds of thousands or millions of people around the world, um, being in their orbit makes me better. Like it
Yeah.
makes me really want to step up and, make my own performance stronger, make my own songwriting stronger.
Yeah.
Um, so what's interesting with some of those collaborations, for instance, with Chris Bodie, he's on the album Just Being Myself, and he is the trumpet feature on Je t'aime, which stands for I love you in French. And we never actually recorded together. So like
Oh, wow.
my producer and I made that track of all the other instruments, and then Chris played in his own studio space and he sent us the files. So like we were never actually in the same room. But on the other hand, like with the Goo Goo Dolls, was not so different. My autism anthem,
Mm.
we did get together and we recorded that together in the studio, and then we performed together at this huge concert in Buffalo, New York, and raised a lot of money for autism awareness. Like a recorded collaboration is sort of tricky that way. Like if you hear a collab, and that's like
Mhm.
a huge thing these days, right? It's like so much pop music is
Oh, yeah.
collaboration.
100%.
You never really know, like, if the artists were in the room together. They might have been, but like because of technology these days, they might not have been. You never know.
Yeah, totally. So you've also coached and teach, which I saw on your website. With new generations coming in, what is it like to see fresh faces take on music?
Well, I mean, I'm encouraged. Like I love the creativity. Like I think the people like you know, the young people or the kids coming up today, they have access to perspectives and tools that even I didn't have, and I'm not like in the old set of the industry, but I'm not in like the super young set either. So it's kind of interesting to look in both directions and to see that it's like my friends and collaborators who are much older have certain expectations and prejudices, and then the people that are much younger have certain expectations and prejudices, and they're all totally different.
Yeah.
So I think like what's awesome about young people making music is that they have access to production tools and like lots of technology to help make the process of creativity easier. But
Mhm.
my advice for them is always to really strive to be authentic and honest and vulnerable. And that's something that, ChatGPT can't give you, like that, you know, auto tune and like awesome digital technology, music making tools. They can help you get a cool beat, or they can help you like find the piano sound that you wanted more easily. But, when it really comes to like songwriting, which is the core of my passion,
Yeah.
um, it's I still think that what is resonating with people and the hit songs that resonate around the globe, they
Mm.
have a real element of truth and vulnerability to them that's very, very human, and it comes from that artist's heart, their unique, you know, experience.
Absolutely. So, what does music mean to you? Like, what does it mean to you?
It is to me, music is an avenue for communication. It's an avenue for connection. It's an avenue for healing. I mean, music is, um, like this thing that we can turn to that changes the way we feel. And that is to me like ultimate power. It's like being a sorcerer,
Right.
that it's like you can have somebody who's really in a kind of a low mood, and then you play some song that 3 minutes later they're feeling better, they're feeling more
Yeah,
uplifted, or they're feeling a little
absolutely.
like, oh, okay, like I have a different perspective now. So
Yeah.
I think music is a really powerful medium for connection and for healing in particular.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. Um,
You're a songwriter too, yeah? Or an artist
I
songwriter?
sing.
Okay, you're a singer. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And then I do this. Um, which
which is amazing.
yeah, it's very. I think it's very beneficial because I learn from every interview
Yeah,
to be better.
so
Um,
cool.
So you were the composer and band leader of Emmy-winning new media TV show, The Never Settle Show. So you got to perform weekly. Um, so what was that like? What was that like for you to do that?
Well, first of all, that was like so crazy because it was produced by Al Roker, who's like this big TV anchor from, honestly, I don't even remember if it's like NBC or ABC or like what network it is. I'm probably going to mess that up. But it was like such a huge thing because we recorded that show. The second season of the show we recorded right in Times Square in the NASDAQ studio, which is like if you're walking in Times Square, you're looking right in the windows of the NASDAQ studio.
Yeah.
So it felt very big and global and like, you know, like kind of like had that whole high production value. So that was cool. Another thing that was really amazing about it was to learn the nuances of TV. So like when you're recording in the studio, if you're recording for your album or for I mean even to a certain degree like for a podcast like this, if you mess up or somebody says something that you're like, you know what, we don't need to use that. You can edit it out. You can cut it up, you could edit it out, or you could do it again. You could say, hey, let's just dial it back 30 seconds and like let's start that conversation again. With TV, it was live, and so it was really like when they did a countdown and they were like, all right, 3, 2, 1, like start playing the music. Me and
Mhm.
my collaborator Tony would have to just start playing and keep going. If you had a technical glitch or you messed up, you'd have to figure out how to just keep going and make something good out of it. And fortunately, like we didn't mess up in any big way. But yeah, I mean, so it's kind of nerve wracking, because it was
Oh,
like
yeah.
it's very live feeling, but it was, yeah, an incredible experience to work with all the TV producers and directors and just to be around a TV studio and cameras and like those lights are way brighter than you think. They're like really hot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Live TV, it's nothing like for the podcast, I edit them. Like I don't edit too much, but if there's something that like I said wrong or whatsoever, the person didn't like what they said, like you can cut it out with live TV. Again, you can't do that.
Right.
So
Right.
yeah. With that being said, is there any upcoming work that you would like to share on the podcast?
Yeah, I mean, I would totally love to share what's coming up. I'm super excited about, I'm going to have a couple of upcoming singles. So one is called Find What Feels Good, and that's just like a super fun bop. So like that's going to be coming out at some point this spring. I'm actually not sure when. And then I'm doing a re-release of a song called This Is the Time, which I actually did with this yoga producer, this guy who's in Sweden named
Oh,
Songs of Eden is his artist name. And we released this song a few years back, but we're actually doing like a new version of it, a new remix of it. So that'll be coming out. And yeah, like I'm always doing collaborations with different artists. So like one of the things that I just did was this song called Burn It Down with this guy, Sawyer Fredericks, and Sawyer won The Voice, the TV show The Voice. That is a very cool collaboration.
oh yeah.
Anybody who's listening, definitely go listen to Burn It Down. You want to check that out and check out our in studio video that's on YouTube. So I would say, I mean, really the best thing to do if you'd like to find out about upcoming concerts, upcoming, song drops, video drops, just make sure to follow me on Instagram and YouTube, and like whatever music service you listen to.
And that's your full name. Yeah.
Exactly. Like at Cassandra Kubinski, really easy. Or if you're like, I can't spell that, just Google it, like put it in to Google and be like Cassandra Kubinski, and then like all of those accounts will just come up.
Okay, my last question for you is I always ask this at the end of every episode. What is there like any advice that you would like to give to people that are just starting out and kind of like almost like an like yeah.
Yeah. Well, so I think, we just covered a little bit of it in
Yeah,
terms
of
of
course.
my advice about being authentic and vulnerable. But you know what? Another piece of advice that always comes to mind is that people are going to try to tell you that there are rules that you have to follow, that the world is this way or that way, or the industry is this way or that way, or like, you have to do XYZ to be a good singer. And my perspective is like that you have to kind of find your own balance of learning from these people, listening and taking in their advice, but then also really listening to your own heart and your own intuitive sense about when you choose to disregard the advice. It's sort of a weird flip thing, but I think like one thing is very important for artists and for people in general
Yeah.
is to learn when to say, you know what, I hear you, like, and I hear that advice, but that's not what resonates for me right now. And, I'm going to do something else. And, especially as singers, I think that when we follow our own heart and our own path, that we are going to learn what we need to learn. So it's like, even if you make some mistakes, um, or run into some challenges, you'll never regret following your heart and doing what your intuition said to do. But you will often regret doing what somebody else said to do just because supposedly they were the expert.
Yeah. 100%. Well, thank you for doing this with me.
Yeah.
I'm so glad
My
that we
pleasure,
finally
Brooke.
made this happen. Yeah.
Yes, that's awesome. Yeah. Yeah, totally. And thank you for having me on. And,
Yeah.
if anybody is a performer or a singer out there and, wants to connect, I always say feel free to shoot me a DM if you have any questions. And I always try to get back to people and, answer any questions that people have. So, yeah.
Awesome. Well, have a great rest of your day and good luck to whatever's next in store for you.
Thank you so much. You too.
Thank you so much for listening and watching to My World with Stories podcast. Be sure to subscribe on Spotify, YouTube, and Apple Podcasts. To stay up to date, you can follow My World with Stories podcast on both Facebook and Instagram at My World with Stories podcast. Make sure to give this podcast a like for future episodes coming your way. Thank you so much for listening and watching, and we will see you guys next time.